So there's one last thing I'd like us to consider before wrapping up this entire project, and that's the concept of joining in progress. So when players join the game, things have to be able to update properly if progress has already been taken on a point. So what we're going to do is we're going to proof our widgets for join in progress. So let's go ahead and do that. I think the most important one to start with would be the capture point world widget. So let's go ahead and open that up. Okay, and I think where my greatest concern is on the team progress changed. So we're not calling that right off the bat because we're assuming, at least how this widget was originally made, was that we would join the game before any progress had been taken. But that may not be the case if, say, you're wanting to support join in progress, for example. So we need to go ahead and call this as soon as this widget is created. So let's go ahead and do that. So we could call it right here, and this might be a good spot, but let's look and see what could be a problem. Okay, so we have our function right here, and this is fine. We can get our team progress from our capture point just like this. And we can plug it in. So let's at least do this part. Okay, so we're going to call it here, and then it's going to come to here. Now, it will come through, and we'll get our player state. Earlier, we weren't really worried if it was going to be ready or not, but in this situation, it could cause a problem because we're calling it right away. So we need to make sure that the player state is ready, just like we did in our other situations. Here's the spot where we normally do our waiting. Let's just copy this. Move all of this down. Handle the fail. Then let's store our player state. The queue. Sometimes it just doesn't work. So, there it did. Anyway, when our capture point is valid, we'll go through, get our owning player, get our player state. If that fails, we might want to do it here too. That's a good question. So maybe what I'll do is just add a print string to let me know if something like that happens. Don't know if I've ever seen this fail, but why not? And then I'll just plug it into there to see if I start getting spammed with messages. So I just typed in error, no owning player, with, of course, the class and the function name. Now that we have our player state, we can release this data here. That looks a lot better. And if I'm going to be honest with you, I actually found this to be a bug. I cooked this project. I set up a whole method of doing multiplayer and everything outside of the editor. And I found that the join in progress failed at that part because the player state was not ready. So good thing we've been doing all these checks throughout our entire project, and it just goes to show if you let your guard down for just one of these things, it could break your entire project, or at least part of it. And the join in progress was definitely broken without this check. But there's still one more we should do just to be sure we're on the safe. Let's go into our main HUD, our capture flag HUD. So here on our cached variables ready, on our then to, we reset the widget, that's good. We call on capture points changed, that's good because it's getting done right away, but we don't have on team scores changed called. So our capture points would be updated, but I guess there's always a chance that the team scores, if somebody had already scored, that wouldn't have been necessarily updated. So let's make sure we call this. And I think we're going to be good here because we cached everything right off the bat. So that's good. Okay, I feel a lot better about that. I like to at least attempt to build to see what assets are there that are conflicting with other assets. Sometimes when you bring in packs, like we brought the Anim starter pack, and when you delete things, it breaks some references. So we got to clean stuff up sometimes. Also, if you've copied your project, some things can get weird there too. So we're going to do a build. Now, this won't necessarily let you play outside the editor because there's a whole session system that needs to be set up. That'll be in a different tutorial. There are some pretty basic setups out there that can get you going, but it's a little bit outside of the scope of what we're doing. But regardless, I'm going to go ahead and do a build just so I can see what I need to clean up. I'm going to go to Platforms, Windows. I'm going to use Development. After that, I'm going to click Package Project. First, I have to, of course, pick by location. Select your folder, and somewhere an output log should pop up to let you know what's going on. If you don't see that, I believe, there it is. Don't get confused with device output log. Go to output log. And when you see like what just happened right there, that's something we're going to have to clean up because the build won't succeed. We're going to let it play out so we can see everything that we need to clean up, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so the cook failed, but we kind of expected that. We added a lot of stuff. We deleted a lot of stuff, so let's go ahead and clean it up. You can filter this out to get rid of the messages. Let's focus on the, let's see, let's do errors first. There we go. Okay, the first thing that's given us trouble is this blend space jog. So let's check it out. You can right click on these, click reference viewer, and we can see everything that's looking at this. Okay, this looks like it's from our Anim starter pack that we brought in. So it's causing a lot of problems. So we're gonna get rid of the character, its blueprint, and anything else that's causing a problem. So right click, browse to the character, and you should go from the left to the right. So that way, if you delete this, if you deleted the Anim blueprint first, you would get a different error because the character is referencing it. So that's why you want to start at the farthest out you can and move inward. So I told it to browse to it. So there it is. Just get rid of it. And it'll say there's a reference. We're going to force delete. And that's what it's referencing, actually. If you're paranoid, you can do what I do and click the reference viewer. You can see that there's nothing to the left of it anymore, so it's safe to delete. Okay, let's look at our, and these are, if you remember, just the original ones that were brought in with the Anim starter pack. They weren't the ones we used. Even if some of the names may be shared, these are not the ones we used. Okay, our jog looks safe to delete. Crouch walk, safe to delete. Okay, we got our showcase here. We really don't want to have other levels. All sorts of problems can happen because they reference all types of things, and artists and various individuals will put things in there that have no longevity. So let's just get rid of it. First, I'm going to just see. Okay, just making sure. Delete the level. Okay, that's part of it. Let's go ahead and do another build and see where we're at. First, I'm going to go to the log, right click. I'm going to clear it so I don't get confused with what might have happened on a previous take. Platforms, Windows, Package Project. I can just pick the same place I had it before. So I can make sure I see it if there are no errors. I'm going to turn on messages and warnings. Okay, looks like the package succeeded this time. Let's check just in case if we did in fact. Okay, no errors. Good. Now let's turn on our warnings. Okay. This might have been caused because I copied my project. I've been doing that as we go to make sure I have a backup. Not really sure. The rig got a little silly here, so why don't we just go ahead and it looks like a reference issue. So I'm going to go to this file and see what's up. So Quinn upper arm R Anim. Okay, I'm going to show where that's at. Okay. Like I said, I'm not an animation expert, but I think we can solve this one. I'm gonna. Oh, actually, that was an anim. I'm gonna look at the poses because it was talking about the poses, and I know there's a button on these things that sometimes needs to get reset. So I'm just gonna start at the top of these poses. I'm gonna open them up one by one, and I'm gonna say update source. Okay, saving it, and I'm gonna do that for all of these. Don't forget, that was the Quinn folder. There's also a Manny folder. Then click Save All. All right, let's try our build again. Same folder as last time. Ah, forgot to clear the log. Let's cancel. Wouldn't want to miss a warning. Clear it. Now build. Make sure messages is on. That looked pretty clean. Let's check. Yeah, if we get rid of messages, we have nothing. So that was a nice, clean build. Okay, so there's a few reasons I did that. But let me preface with this, though. I can't guarantee you a clean build because if you're using a different engine version, I will say there are some engine versions that will throw out warnings, usually not errors, but there are some that will throw out warnings that are somewhat unfounded. There's some bugs sometimes that will throw that out with the engine itself. If you're using the same engine version, but you're using different assets, maybe they were updated at different times, all sorts of different things. So I can't guarantee you a clean build just because, you know, you may have different things in your engine than I do, and that might cause various issues. But if you've only used what I've used around and they're all at the same update version, you should be good. But if Anim Starter Pack, for example, were to change between the time that this tutorial is made and say the time that you add it to your project and it throws an error, I can't help you there. I would only say that if something is causing you a problem, try completely deleting it from the project and see if that resolves the issue. In fact, one time there was a saved icon over here, and just seeing that icon, having it as something that's visible with one of these checkboxes, it was throwing a ton of errors. So just because you have an error, it doesn't necessarily mean that you've done something wrong. There can also be things wrong with the engine, and I meant to say warning. With warnings, that's 99% of the case. There is an occasion where you can get an error. That's not your fault, but those are a lot more rare. So if you're getting an error, you probably need to address that. It's best, though, if you can get it nice and clean like this. And in the professional world, you have to get it clean, or what happens is they back out your work. So basically your work gets erased if you check something in that breaks the game or starts throwing warnings or errors. So that's why I wanted to do it, because it's part of the it's kind of the professional thing to do, to show you how that whole process about how it would go. Anyway, let's do a final walkthrough, make sure things were okay. And one last thing, if you're wanting to get it to look like the intro demo that you saw when you started this tutorial, I'm just using the assets that are in the world and scaling them differently. The walls and the floors are bigger, so I didn't add anything special. I just took what we had made and I moved it around. I'm still, however, for this video, I'm in our standard config, so I'm just going to test a couple things and make sure that I didn't totally break it. So far, so good. I still have the debug in there. If that drives you crazy, we can get rid of it. I like it as we're, if I were still developing this game, I would, of course, keep it in there because I would want to know various details, like as I'm capturing what's going on. Yeah, that appears to work. Let's try to get 2 people scoring real quick. Okay, this is good. This is what we want. Nice. Okay, let's see where we put those debugs. Go in the capture point. Easiest to sometimes back out a little bit. Update team progress. Ah, there it is. Simply connect that back up. Pull off our sequence. Grab the rest of our stuff. Delete. And that is in update team progress. All right, we have a nice clean interface here. No print strings popping up all over the place, so nobody's going to yell at us. Let's check everything else. Okay, we got our output log. I like to go through it after a session that we just did just to make sure nothing strange popped up. So I thought it looked pretty clean, but yep, still pretty clean. That's great. All right, that about does it. I think we covered everything. I'll see you on the next one.